Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're going to give our first impressions on Way of the Panda. A CMON game.
A CMON game, a CMON
One
experience.
of them they're most well known for, I would say.
Yes, this is what people think of when they think of CMON.
For sure. But yeah, it's got a cool theme. For sure. I didn't know anything about it until you brought up. We did a wish list last year, and then this was one of those top 10 that you were kind of looking forward to getting and possibly playing. And it got me a little excited when you said Council of Four, because that's a game I really like. So I was pretty excited to give this one a try.
Yep, based only on them both being CMON games and not really the big epic battling CMON games as well.
Right.
But yeah, so this is on that list, and we ended up getting it, and it took almost a year for us to actually get it to the table, which is crazy, because I know you were actually, like you said, pretty interested in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But one that we wanted to do with more player count, a higher player count, and we finally got it played. And what were your first impressions?
Yeah, so after one play, I would say I'm a little torn on it. There are some cool things in this one, I would say. I do agree that it probably is going to play best at the higher player counts. We ended up playing with 4, which I think felt right. But yeah, I definitely, I think, went into it with maybe too high of expectations because, I don't know, you probably knew better than I did kind of what to expect. I really still didn't know going into it until he kind of taught the rules. And I was more thinking Council of Four, and there were some small things that you could maybe say, but it was mainly an action board of a what do you call it, like a ratcheting type thing, or like a river one in most games. But this one, it was just a board with actions from left to right, top to bottom. Once you take one action, you can no longer go back and take the actions before that one, which was, I found, to be a really interesting part of the game, because it also had you pay a cost of a person. And like some other games, you know that you can potentially take actions that other people have taken. In this case, you have to pay one additional worker than the previous player. And usually that's not a great thing in games, but in this one it can actually benefit you quite a bit, because based on the number of those people that you place on that mat, by the end you get that many action points kind of the next time, and you're using the action points to kind of take a lot of the actions on that board, and as you go down the board, as they become more powerful, it costs you more action points. So sometimes it's good to do that, because you may not have a ton of actions you want to do, so it's kind of like, oh good, you took that one, oh, and another person took it, good, I'm going to be able to get rid of 3 of my guys on that action, because I didn't really plan on doing too many of the other ones because it cost too much. So sometimes it worked out really perfectly, and that was probably my favorite part of the game. The other parts seem interesting, but I think it's definitely going to take me more plays to figure out if I really like it or not.
Yeah,
the scoring
with kind of having others around a city versus yourself around the city. Like if you completely surround a city, the roads, you get points for your people in there. But if you're building a building in the city, you want other people's. You get points for other people's guards on the outside, which is tough to wrap your mind around, because just instinctively you want to have all your people everywhere. Kind of similar to instinctively you don't want to pay extra people to take an action.
Right.
It kind of just flips a couple of those things on its head, which I can see taking some time to get used to. But yeah, like you said, I love the whole action board system. It's just by far the best thing in the game. Other than that, I think just kind of the board play is pretty regular. I mean, other than that one little thing we mentioned of kind of not really kind of flipping it on its head, but otherwise you are just moving around and kind of not really area control, maybe a little bit, just building, getting little point salad points here and there in different ways. But just kind of the way you're doing it with that action board is just so satisfying and so unique. Which I feel like we played a few games like that where they kind of just normal do stuff on a map, but the actual way you're doing it is the meat of the game.
Yeah, kind of made me think a little bit of a Rurik.
Yeah, I was
Dawn of
thinking
Kiev.
Rurik, yeah.
It's kind of what it made me feel similar to, where most of the gameplay is happening on that board,
Yeah.
and then kind of the rest of what's going on to get a few points is happening on the game board. But
Yeah.
the action, good chunk of the meat of the game is on the actual board itself. So if you like that one, this could be kind of a similar feel. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think both of them kind of flip things on their head a little bit with how they work. But yeah, I think right now I'd probably come in at a 7 because I don't know. I could see myself having my score fall a little bit if I played it a few times and the scoring still seemed a little weird or off to me. But possibly with more plays, I become a little more aware of kind of, oh yeah, I should maybe do that instead of, because to me it just felt like I wanted to get it, like I said, like you said, as many people or paths out on that board as you could, but that didn't really necessarily mean you got points. So yeah, I'd say it's a 7, and I could see it going either way with more plays. Could be going down, could be going up.
Yeah, I have this at an 8.25. Just like I said, really love that action board, and I think that's what brings it up here, because otherwise I'm kind of where you are, where it's like, with more plays, trying to really see what I think of the rest of the game, and see. You kind of went with the set collection, got a lot of that, and I feel like that's probably something you do really have to focus at. And
it's a lot of points.
I don't think I definitely didn't focus on it much at all, and none of the players really did nearly as much as you. And I think that was because of a couple spots on the board gave you bonuses, which I think if we were playing them right, seemed very, very powerful.
Yeah, and I think they probably are right. I think it's just kind of being aware and knowing that that's.
Yeah, and that's
because then you
another
can
one of those
take
things.
moves and maneuver into there to not let someone get that all to themselves.
Yeah, just
with
another
more
one of
plays.
those things with more plays. But I do like that you have like 3 different pandas, and then they correspond to the different columns on the action board. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard to remember which one's where. But thankfully, I think I didn't have a problem with that ever, remembering which one was which or which could take an action. So that's also a thumbs up.
Yeah, I suppose I did like that quite a bit too. I think that worked pretty well. But I did get confused sometimes on the colors of the pandas and then the discs on the bottom. It just kind of confused me a few times as to where mine was on the board. But otherwise, yeah, I definitely checked this one out. It's a different feeling game than a lot of what Simon puts out. And if you like the panda theme, this might be one for you. But otherwise, you can check out our unboxing video, this one. And we hope to see you there. But otherwise, next time.
Until next time.
Don't
forget to
keep on nibbling on our content. Thanks, Cookie.
Throwing you off.